One, two, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the reaction video. We got the collapse that destroyed an NFL franchise. Let's check this out.
Okay, so since Matt Ryan arrived in 2008 in Atlanta and Julio Jones in 2011, the Atlanta Falcons have always had at least the offensive talent to stay in games. And
I'm gonna miss watching Julio play, man.
This team in the 2010s wasn't considered a true Super Bowl contender for most of the decade. In 2012, they were one of the best teams in football, but fell to the 49ers as underdogs at home despite holding a late fourth quarter lead. And in the coming years, things began to fall apart. Dan Quinn was hired in 2015 to change things, and to his credit, he did, but their most important change this season did not have to do with their head coach. And the Atlanta Falcons took massive steps forward towards their greatest success, but their greatest failure. In 2015, the Atlanta Falcons hired
Kyle Shanahan got some big ass ears.
Kyle Shanahan. Now, thankfully for them, he was employed by the Browns in 2014 and basically said, "I would rather put a 9mm through my cranium than stay there for another year."
I don't blame him, bro.
Here he
Browns
was.
will do that to you.
In 2015, the Falcons got to work with heavy emphasis on the play action and run fakes in general. The Falcons' offense improved dramatically from the year prior, as Julio Jones thrived in this new system, nearly racking up 2,000 yards and demolishing fantasy football leagues worldwide. But people did not think the Atlanta Falcons were going to pop off like they did in 2016, and there's a few reasons for this, all of them honestly pretty logical. For starters, Kyle Shanahan was outplaying Matt Ryan during training camp, which...
What the fuck? Hold up, go back. Nigga, what? Bro, Kyle Shanahan picking off Matt Ryan is crazy. What the fuck he got in his mouth?
The Falcons were going to be forced to play a lot of rookies, a lot of minutes. But luckily for Atlanta in 2016, the Falcons had one of the most underrated draft classes in recent history. As their first 4 picks,
Hooper was a dog, bro. Even his time in Cleveland was pretty solid.
Teams at some point in their career. Austin Hooper somehow made a Pro Bowl, with Deion Jones in particular playing some great football in just year number 1 in Atlanta. Because look, everyone knew that Julio Jones and Matt Ryan were good. It was more of just, were they good enough to compensate for the rest of the team's flaws? Because by this point, longtime Atlanta receiver Roddy White was gone, and on his way out, he basically said Kyle Shanahan himself sabotaged the end of the season, and they would have made the playoffs without him. So surely Kyle will never make another mistake again. Because Atlanta's defense was not going to be good under any circumstances.
Vic Beasley was it 2016 where he had like, what, 16 sacks? Bro, and it's crazy. They haven't had a double-digit sack leader since this nigga, bro.
Defense was not going to be good under any circumstances.
Crazy.
And sorry,
that might all change this year, bro.
Yeah, the Falcons' defense was not.
They got some dogs now.
Although they kept most of the same.
Vic Beasley, bro. That year, that nigga was
center Alex Mack, also from Cleveland, because they get nothing nice, and he was a major piece for Atlanta, which created a top 10 offensive line. And with Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman as an amazing 1-2 punch in the backfield. Kyle Shanahan had all the pieces in place to create.
Didn't he go with Kyle to the Niners too?
And that he did.
Oh my gosh.
The Atlanta Falcons built a perfect modern offense. This team was playing as one unit, and they were going to be tough to stop. Say what you want about Dan Quinn as a coach, but he knows how to bring a team together. And in the offseason, the whole Falcons team, even like Matt Ryan, was training with Navy SEALs for a week straight, which is not easy. And many players say this was huge for the team chemistry, as in an environment like that, sometimes you just need your brother to be there to lift you up and tell you you got this. So, to begin the very historic 2016 NFL season, through 5 weeks, the Falcons were bludgeoning teams, back to back to back. 35-plus point games, basically to start the season, including 2 straight 45-plus point games. And by this point, people began to pay attention. I mean, they had to. Not only because they beat both the Super Bowl teams from last season in the Broncos and Panthers, and in that Denver game in particular, Vic Beasley had 3.5 sacks. Dude was athletic as hell, but I've never seen a luckier defensive player.
Bro, what happened to him after that year, bro? Because I didn't hear this nigga name called ever since then. That's crazy.
The Falcons' offense was averaging 478 yards per game.
God damn.
And I mean, I could go on, but this graph pretty much tells you all you need to know. First in total yards.
Bruh. First in total yards, offense, total yards per game, total yards per play, points per game, passing yards per attempt, receiving yards per play. God damn, bro. How the fuck did this team not win the Super Bowl? We all know what happened, but nigga, how the fuck did they choke that shit?
First in yards per play.
Hey, Bill Belichick, bro. That's all I gotta say. Bill Belichick.
Fair. They would have shattered so many records.
That's one
surely they
elite
slowed
defensive minded
down,
coach,
they
bro.
They did, but the way they slowed down should have made the NFL world honestly believe in them even more. Listen, okay, habits can be pretty harmless sometimes. I mean, for me, it's
go ahead.
With some great, it's solid.
About to skip right through that. Condoms? The fuck? About to skip right through that.
A team who at this point still had all their dogs and Super Bowl DNA, as well as being near unbeatable in Seattle still, but the Falcons went in there and should have won the game. Julio had 140 yards on Sherman, and the defense did a solid job of containing Seattle's offense, but on the last play from scrimmage for Atlanta, Julio was double-teamed by two Hall of Famers in Sherman and Earl Thomas, and still should have drawn a PI, but it wasn't called, and the Falcons would lose the game. But Seattle would be back. And then 1 week later, they lost again by 3 points to the Chargers after Ryan threw a late pick to set up what would prove to be the game-winning field goal. So now what? Because all of a sudden, one of the best offenses of all time was 4-3 and struggling for answers to win games. Because the defense was getting cooked. The rookies were developing well, but the corners were getting smoked on low for hours and hours a game. And this was
they
not
still have
sustainable
Desmond
for a
Trufant?
winning formula. But just when people started to label the Falcons as an early season success story, they bounced right back.
Fuck?
Packers win, 49ers win, Panthers win, Cardinals win.
They smoked the 49ers. God damn.
The Seahawks stumbled a bit to end the season and dealt with injuries, and so the Falcons got to host at least one playoff game versus Seattle. Once again, this Seahawks team was still not only 3 years removed from a Super Bowl, but they'd been to 2 Super Bowls in 4 years, and were everyone's dark horse to possibly win this game versus Atlanta, but some even said they had a good chance to make the Super Bowl. But the MVP Matt Ryan and arguably the best wide receiver in football, Julio Jones, had other plans. And without Earl Thomas for Seattle, the Falcons were about to feast on the corpse of a once great bird. Early on, both teams scored to tie the game at 7-7, but also what gets lost from this Falcons season is they had Devin Hester as the kick returner. And in this game, he returned a punt 80 yards, only for it to be called back due to a hold. But the football gods were intertwined with this Falcon season, let's say, and they were pissed about that, and Seattle instantly got a safety, and things were back on track for Atlanta. And Matt Ryan, who has been scrutinized endlessly for his postseason shortcomings, came up huge. Ryan found Tevin Coleman to end the first half to go up 9 on a textbook Shanahan play, and then doubled up in the third quarter, leading the Falcons on a 6-minute touchdown drive to coast from there and end Seattle's failed dynasty for good. But man, bro, Matt Ryan, Matty Ice, the Iceman, had possibly the best game of his career given the intensity of the moment to this point. It's not that people didn't think he deserved the MVP, 300 yards per game with a 7.1 touchdown percentage, 1.3 interception ratio, and 117 passer rating on the year speaks for itself. It's just he suffered from the same thing that Brock Purdy, Garoppolo, and other Shanahan quarterbacks face. The question of, is he really that good of a player, or is he just a product of a brilliant system? And so
that is crazy, bro. Whoever's the quarterback for Shanahan, bro, always getting criticized. Damn, bro, that nigga Shanahan really liked that as an offensive minded coach, bro. That's insane. And Matt Ryan is still like one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, bro. Don't get it twisted. He definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer. But that shit is still crazy to think about, bro.
Because Green Bay knocked out Dallas, people once again kept doubting the Falcons. Funny enough, the Aaron Rodgers choke narrative wasn't really a thing yet, and instead, people sided with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, who, despite barely sneaking into the playoffs, hadn't lost a game since mid-November. But people who did not believe in Atlanta forgot about one thing. They have Julio Jones. This was the last game in the Dome for Atlanta, in front of their home crowd. Super Bowl on the line, and it's rare moments like these that just make sports so great, because sometimes the other team is just in the way of destiny, and there's nothing they can do about it. From the first snap, the Falcons thoroughly obliterated the Packers. This game wasn't even close. The Falcons defense, which for most of the year was not that good, got a ridiculous amount of pressure on Rodgers early. Vic Beasley, Grady Jarrett, Jonathan Babineau, hell, Dwight Freeney was on this team, and out of nowhere, this Falcons defense that...
When was the Dwight Freeney on the Falcons? I do not remember that. I ain't gonna lie.
Once again allowed 25.5 points per game in the regular season, pitched a shutout in the first half.
Almost got
and
face masked.
Matthew Ryan, 400 yards, 4 tutties, no picks. And Julio Jones, meanwhile, had 180 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Damn.
And that was it. This was the team of destiny for Atlanta, and they fulfilled their full potential and made the Super Bowl for the second time in their franchise's existence. And this was already by far the best team they've ever fielded in franchise history. But let's take a step back here, okay? Just for a moment, and let's truly appreciate how great this Falcons offense was, okay? They had 9.2 yards per attempt all year, which is still
that's almost a first down every play.
Pass attempt in a single season by any team since the merger, only recently eclipsed by, well, Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers. And so the Falcons were moving on to the Super Bowl. I know, guys. For all of you who've been around the channel for a while, I feel like I've never really talked about the Super Bowl in detail for various reasons, but now it's finally time. Okay, strap in. You know what you're about to get. Super Bowl 50.
That is insane. Only Tom Brady,
Patriots versus Falcons.
That is insane.
This Super Bowl was a one of one, an anomaly, a type of Super Bowl that will never be repeated again. The New England Patriots were the biggest test this Falcons team could possibly face. These were the 2 best teams in football, and at the end of the 60 minutes of game time that this Super Bowl has, the better team will be 100% clear. But for the Falcons offense, this Patriots defense was also not what they wanted to see. This was the #1 defense in the league by a fair amount of metrics, and they had a pretty interesting game plan set for Julio Jones. Led by Belichick and Matt Patricia, rather than playing different leverages on Julio, after watching his film, the Patriots seemed to notice a pattern. Julio was favoring one foot over the other after an injury he suffered earlier in the season, and so not only would they routinely double team him, but most of his routes would go from right to left. So they would try to overplay those routes, doing everything they could to minimize the superstar wideout. But Julio's torture would only just begin. And also, guys, I literally cannot make this up. I wish I could show you. I don't really have my camera right now, but I'm not lying to you. I just got a scam call from Atlanta, Georgia. While writing
bro, nah.
They're trying to stop me from spreading the truth.
Nah, that's tough. That's tough.
I swear, I actually did get a call from someone from Atlanta. It was kind of funny. But you can only stop Julio so much. And Atlanta's offense was ruthlessly efficient, as Devontae Freeman scored to take a 7-0 lead, with Julio helping on the drive. A forced turnover later also then led to Atlanta getting the ball back with a chance to extend the lead. And they did. The Falcons scored again. And then Atlanta's altered defensive scheme led to a housed pick, and it was 21-0 Falcons. And the Patriots had been getting humiliated. And you know,
nigga, I had to go to school the next morning, bro. I did not want to go to sleep. Like, I think it was like 4th quarter. Brady and them were just starting to come out. I was like, I gotta stay up for this, bro. I'm not going to sleep until I find out who win this Super Bowl, bro. That shit went to overtime. I'm like, damn, nigga, hurry up and come back and win this game so I can go to sleep. That ending was crazy, bro.
You're probably not either, but if you are a fan of a team with...
Yeah, but everybody was staying up
exactly
late,
the Falcons,
you know what I'm saying, watching
but
that
a similar
shit.
team that hasn't seen or been to a Super Bowl in your time
Damn,
as an NFL fan, and you've been through some shit with that team, imagine yourself in this situation, okay? You're up 3 scores, demoralizing the greatest player to ever play the game, and I don't care how much you'd still not want to give in and jinx yourself, but just for a second, you might just believe the universe is finally giving you a break. 21-3 at halftime. The Patriots managed just a field goal, and the Falcons' win chances were astronomical. 96%. They had a 96% chance to win a Super Bowl with 30 minutes left. Belichick and the greatest defense in the league were getting picked apart by the brightest young offensive mind in football without Julio Jones doing much of anything. And then it happened. In the 3rd quarter, with 8 minutes and 31 seconds remaining, the Atlanta Falcons scored again and now held a 28.
Nigga, look at this. I mean, this still is like a lot of time left. But bro, for it to be 28-3 and it's 8.5 minutes left in the third quarter, you got 15 in the fourth quarter. Just milk the clock, gang. Just milk the clock, run the ball, and then hit them with play action over the top. You know what I'm saying? Easy as that. But they want to fiddle dick around and shit. Like, bruh.
There it is. There's the number, 28-3. Now, I know all Falcons fans out there didn't even click on this video, let alone got to this point in the video, but I titled this the way I did for a reason. Because I don't believe 28-3 should be what this team, nay, this franchise's legacy should be. But at this point in the game,
wait, so
Atlanta Falcons had a 99.
Yeah, I was wondering what the 99.4% meant. So they had a 99.4% chance to win this game and still blew it. God damn.
Chance to win the game.
That is tough.
0.6% of the time do they manage to find a way to lose. And
Yo.
everything kept going Atlanta's way. Yeah, sure, the Patriots got a big fourth down to keep the game alive, and they scored, but they even missed the PAT, so the football gods would not allow the Patriots to continue any longer. Thomas, Edward, Patrick, Brady, Jr. Damn it, bro, Tom was already the GOAT, okay? There wasn't really much question about it, but this game was already going to be legacy defining for him. However, he
this
definitely
solidified
did
it
not
right here,
do
though,
all
gang.
of this alone, because in the fourth quarter, underratedly, the most important play of the entire game probably occurred. With 8 minutes and 31 seconds left in the game, a direct mirror of the fateful play that took the 28-3 lead just a quarter ago. Devontae Freeman blew his blocking assignment, and Dante Hightower forced a fumble. Patriots ball, Tom found Danny Amendola, and James White punched it in for 2. And although the analytics say the Falcons have still got basically a free win on their hands, analytics cannot account for 2 things: momentum and the human spirit to fight.
Facts.
Both of which had left the Falcons forever. They were already dead. They just didn't know it yet. Julio Jones finished this football game with 4 targets. 4.
Damn.
All the way. The least amount of targets he's had all year in a game. And recently, he made
4
it clear on a
targets is
podcast
crazy. They were really
he was
clamping him
not
up.
happy with the way the Falcons offense seemed to just kind of ignore him in the big game. But with the haymaker ready to be thrown, the best receiver-quarterback combo made the play of the game. Julio to Ryan. Just an unbelievable play.
That's
and
what he
Atlanta
does
was
best,
going
bro.
to do it. This should have 100% ended the game. They had an elite kicker literally take 3 knees and you have a win in the bag, killing clock. Hall of Fame level plays like this cannot be wasted, but fuck my ass it was. This is what it takes to blow a 99% chance to win a game. On second down, Shanahan dials up a pass play, which, you know, is questionable, but the Patriots were 1 step ahead and sacked Matt Ryan. And even then, it should have been fine. But instead, Jake Matthews has his second devastating holding, and the Falcons instead are forced to
I wonder why they
punt it
didn't run the
back
ball,
to
though,
New
bro.
England. They punted it back, and the gassed Falcons defense was forced right back onto the field. And then it happened. All of this, every single thing that has gone horribly wrong for the Falcons in the last 2 straight hours at this point, was nothing compared to this moment. Tom Brady finds Julian Edelman for 23 yards, is what the play-by-play says, but the mere box score alone can't even begin to quantify what happened on that fateful play. The ball was nearly picked off. It went right through the hands of Atlanta, then the leg, then the other leg of Atlanta, but Julian Edelman made the greatest catch the Super Bowl has ever seen. This is beyond football.
Like, how, like, hold on, go back.
Has ever seen. This.
How the fuck did he not drop this? Like, if you just show a random person this picture and ask them, do you think he caught this or dropped this? They will 100% say he dropped this. That is a crazy catch, bro.
Is beyond football. At this moment, Falcons fans felt a
now that was the biggest play of the game right there.
In their stomachs. The empire is inevitable. Momentum gone, energy gone, gone. And the New England Patriots went straight down the field, easily scored, but they had one more chance. One more shot to change everything. And they almost had it. And underratedly, the football gods threw one more jab at Atlanta. On the edge is old-ass Dwight Freeney, who clearly jumps off sides, but if he didn't jump off sides here, there's a good chance he would have deflected this pass. He knew it was coming. He got his hands up, but they didn't call it, and he was punished heavily as the Patriots tied the game 28-28.
Hey,
And
that's
the
the
only
definition
thing
of
that can
ball
save
don't
Atlanta
lie,
now,
bro.
without any timeouts, was a coin toss. A bloody coin toss. What a sick joke. This entire Falcons season was going to come down to a coin toss.
That's
the defense
tough.
was so exhausted. They could barely stop the Patriots from picking up 6 yards on an HB dive, and with the old overtime rules gifting the team who wins the 50-50 a massive advantage, shockingly, the Atlanta Falcons did not win the coin toss. And Tom Brady jogged back onto the
James
field.
White.
And what happened next is a call that will always, 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 always ring in the back of the mind of all Falcons fans that were still watching this game. It was done. That was it. 28-3 turned to 28-34. And the New England Patriots
Crazy.
defeated the Atlanta Falcons in Super Bowl 51. Now, once again, this game is so much more than a painful defeat. So much more than the most painful defeat in sports history, given the context at least. This very same year, I personally cried to 2 sporting events for hours. I cried after this game, and I cried after my Warriors blew 3-1 lead, but we at least got some compensation with the Warriors.
Bro, that was a time to be alive, bro.
We had to hope.
2016 was an insane year, especially for sports,
I don't know what it was, but I couldn't pinpoint why this event felt so unfair in the moment and taxing in the long run. And then it hit me. I didn't understand because I'm not a Falcons fan, but the human element in me,
I could imagine what Falcons fans
Stockholm
going through,
syndrome
bro.
understood. There's a very
Holy
interesting
shit.
phenomenon in sports where people tend to gain pleasure from watching their team fail, something I believe should be studied far more and something I've experienced myself. But this, an event that shapes the way your team, your identity is shaped,
They haven't been the
is
same
something
since,
you're
bro.
essentially forced to embrace.
Have they made-
When I heard this quote from
I don't-
Secret Base and their
I don't think they've made the playoffs since this shit. God damn, bro. That is tough. Nigga, Brady really broke these niggas. I mean, they got a good chance to make the playoffs this year, but almost a decade later,
incredible
That's
Falcons
tough.
documentary series, it all made sense to me. The quote is this: "I do not mourn February 5th, 2017 because we lost the Super Bowl. I mourn it because I lost the chance to stop." And that is the essence of why the Atlanta Falcons are broken. Because the sick joke of it all is it might happen again. This team has made 2 Super Bowls ever, and their biggest headline from each, besides just losing, was their Pro Bowl safety soliciting a prostitute before the Super Bowl and then blowing a
What?
28-3 lead. Pro Bowl ever. And their biggest headline from each, besides just losing, was their Pro Bowl safety soliciting a prostitute before the Super Bowl.
niggas having prostitutes suck all the talent out of niggas before the game. What the fuck are we doing? Bro, what? Was it Ryan Neal? Not Ryan Neal, Keanu Neal? What the fuck, bro? What are we doing, gang?
Bowl and then
Couldn't wait till after the game?
So, I don't know. Maybe the journey is worth it eventually, but maybe it's not.
Nigga thought that shit was
Maybe
gonna
the
give him
Atlanta
some
Falcons
boost or
are a
something.
shattered franchise
Hell
right
nah.
now, and this one game has done permanent damage to them, and it also broke the psyche of many men involved. Kyle Shanahan hasn't recovered, as he would go on to blow 2 more massive Super Bowl leads, and counting, I guess. And
I ain't
Matt
gonna lie,
Ryan has
it might be a
never
Shanahan problem. That motherfucker is 0-3. That nigga is 0-3 in Super Bowls, bro. It gotta be a Shanahan problem, bro. It gotta be at this point. Because there's no way. It can't be a coincidence. Damn.
this
bro.
narrative either. As in another cruel
That's
joke,
tough,
as a
gang.
member of the Colts, he blew the biggest lead in NFL history to
33
the
nothing.
eventual Falcons quarterback.
I
Kirk
remember that.
Cousins. But maybe it will improve. So,
She was on
Falcons fans,
NFL Network too.
I'm sorry, but someone had to tell the story. But right now, this team is still highly radioactive, and 28-3 truly has broken your NFL team. But anyways, if you like this video, then subscribe.
This is a
because
good
I got
ass
a lot of videos
video,
on the
bro.
channel
I ain't
just
gonna
like
lie,
this one. And
nigga.
if you
Tub
like
Frog,
this
make some more vids, gang. You know what I'm saying? Make some more vids. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to react to some more football content, because there's really not really much to react to, for real. Hey man, shit, I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Y'all let me know what other NFL videos I'm going to react to. Without further ado, I'm out.
I'ma make them feel me, make them people with they show me. And if you don't know me, I'ma make sure that you know me. I hate to say it, but I really think I'm broken. But I know I'm chosen, I really know I'm chosen. I know I'm chosen. I was just lost a year ago, but now I'm focused. When good at sports, this microphone can be my trophy. Not taking drugs, I found a better way of coping.